to expedite the process.
I would expect in some cases the sheriff is saying be treated like everyone else. There are security concerns here that would dictate possibly slightly different procedures.
Exactly. Even having the former president, stay in a cell for a couple hours would mean moving dozens of inmates to other parts of the already cramped overcrowded jail. So we don't expect him to spend too much time behind any bars there. I think it will be a pretty quick process.
I mentioned in my introduction a pair of Republican public officials who are embroiled in the turmoil in this indictment. There are lots of people named in this thing as unindicted co-conspirators or just named because they were at meetings. What's the reaction in Georgia with respect to those people who are public officials who also happen to have a role in everything that went down after the election and prior to January 6th?
Yeah, I was one of those reporters who stumbled upon that fake GOP elected meeting, and Sean Still, who back then wasn't a state senator, he was a state party official, was at the door of 20 away saying it was an educators meeting, not a fake elected meeting. Right now, they're under the spotlight. I've heard from a lot of Republican senators who are rallying behind Sean Still. I've heard from others who are very concerned about whether or not these charges stick. And we already saw 8 other fake electors get immunity, and we assume they're cooperating with prosecutors. Another fake elector, David Schaefer, this former state party chair, has also been indicted and facing charges for orchestrating this plot. But Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones is the interesting one, because as you mentioned earlier, Fani Willis was ordered not to pursue charges against him because she participated in a fundraiser for his political opponent, Charlie Bailey, who worked in her office. But at the same time, the judge said that another agency, the prosecuting attorney council, could investigate the charges. So those proceedings are underway. And so the Lieutenant Governor of Georgia is under the criminal microscope right now. He could end up facing charges. We just don't know it.
Let's talk about the governor. I just mentioned that Fani Willis has sent this reference for Sean Still to the governor. Ted's an interesting character. He's come out opposing Donald Trump on many of these things, although shortly after this thing, he was at an event at the White House, meeting back then, after the inauguration. But where does he stand on this whole thing? Where is the governor of Georgia? Where does he stand?
Yeah, he's no ally of Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump tried to oust him from office last year. Back former Senator David Perdue ended up getting walloped by 52 points by the governor. But at the same time, Governor Trump has ambitions. He might run for U.S. Senate. He might run for president down the road. He doesn't want to be accused of disloyalty. In the campaign last year, he wouldn't say a negative word about Donald Trump because he didn't want to alienate Donald Trump's base of supporters, which is still a significant segment of the Georgia population. Brian Kemp could also read the polls. That poll just came out yesterday at an event that Brian Kemp helped co-sponsor by Brian Kemp's PAC that showed Donald Trump had a 53% lead in the Georgia GOP primary. So what the governor is doing is trying to navigate this thin line. He is at once saying, hey, these charges are a distraction. We should focus on 2024. We should not focus on the 2020 obsession with false lies about election fraud. But at the same time, he's also saying he's going to support whoever the nominee ends up being. If it's Donald Trump, that means he'll also have to back Donald Trump.
Greg, I appreciate it. I'm always grateful for the amount of detail that you have in your head and the way you make that so accessible to us. Greg Bluestein is a political reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution newspaper. He's an MSNBC contributor. He's also the author of the book Flipped, How Georgia Turned Purple and Broke the Monopoly of Republican Power. I'm joined now by Jennifer Rubin, a leading writer for the Washington Post and also an MSNBC political analyst. She's the author of the important
Slowing down a little bit, D.
Save democracy from Donald Trump.
These guys running out of battery.
Piece that caught my attention in the Washington Post earlier this week, in which you wrote about the distinction between the indictments. I carry these with me everywhere I go. The Jack Smith indictment and the Fani Willis indictment, in which you say, whereas Smith chose not to indict Trump on instigating violence, you note that Willis's case puts the violence front and center, and you think that's an important note. Tell me why.
Well, Jack Smith had an interest in making the federal case as narrow, as quick as possible. He didn't want to get into Trump's association with violence because that would trigger, I think, First Amendment concerns regarding his speech on the elections, if you remember, on January 6th. Fani Willis is telling me a different story. She is telling
Where'd you go?
Very deep,
Where's
very
Nosy?
detailed story
Come here, Nosy.
of what happened in Georgia.
Come here, Nosy.
We know Trump and others promulgated lies about not
Where